Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Virginia SBDC's webinar series, Google and Beyond, Marketing and Managing on the Web. This series is designed to take a look at tools and techniques to help small businesses take their business to the next level. Today's webinar is the power of Google Apps for Work. All of our Google and Beyond webinars are presented by Ray Sidney Smith, web and mobile strategist, author of So Low Mo Success, Social Media, Local and Web Small Business Marketing Strategies Explained, and president of W3 Consulting. If you have any questions during the presentation, please type those questions into the question window and Ray will do his best to answer them. Without further ado, here's Ray Sidney Smith.
Thank you, Tracy, and thank you to the Virginia SBDC Network for having me here for the Beyond Google Marketing and Managing on the Web series. Today, as Tracy said, we'll be talking about the power of Google Apps for Work. And it's a really exciting topic. As anyone who knows me knows, I am a huge fan of the Google Apps interface and frequently talk about it as Google as infrastructure. And so we'll talk about that today, and I'm really excited to be talking about that. A couple of housekeeping items, as Tracy said before. If you have any questions, now is the time to ask. So feel free. You have me on the line here. Feel free to ask questions. If you have questions subsequent to that, the best way to reach me is via Twitter, pretty much. So go ahead and send us Twitter questions at W3 Consulting, hashtag it Beyond Google, and I'll know that it's from the webinar, and I'll be happy to go ahead and answer those questions. I'll have my email at the end of the slide, so of course you can follow up by email if you do need to send me an email message with something longer. Feel free to follow at Virginia SBDC as well, so that you can figure out when the next webinars are going to be put out and all kinds of other programs and information that the Virginia Small Business Development Center Network is putting out there for you. So with that out of the way, let's talk about our agenda for today. Our agenda for today is going to be talking about what Google Apps is. Okay, so Google Apps for Work is its own entity, its own sort of beast, and I want to make sure that we cover that topic. We'll then be talking about sort of an overview of getting set up in Google Apps for Work. I'm actually going to hop into Google Apps and walk through it, and of course, with any setup regarding online stuff, we may have some hiccups along the way. I tested this several times. But every time I log into Google, something a little new or some nuance has changed. So I hope that it works exactly as I planned it to, and I'll show you how to actually set up a Google Apps account, go into the 30-day free trial, and see how that operates. And we'll walk around the applications so that you can actually see how to how to engage with this very powerful tool that's the infrastructure that Google creates for you. And then we'll have Q&A. We'll have an opportunity for you to ask questions that you might have about Google Apps for Work from all kinds of various issues. People sometimes have questions. So with that, let's talk about what Google Apps for Work is. So Google Apps is a huge product. Okay, it's got 12 base products, and so Google created Google Apps for Work out of somewhat necessity. I mean, Google started in the early days. Ignore the title there on the screen. But Google Apps was created in the early days to basically, establish a means for businesses to be able to communicate with one another, but also to sort of become more wedded to Google in a lot of ways. So if you use Google Search, you use Google Search and then you left. So Google created Gmail, so that you kept coming into contact with the Google brand more often. And then Google created Google Calendar. And then Google created other tools. And lo and behold, Google realized it had a productivity suite of software that it could bundle together for businesses. And they primarily focused on small business as the foundation for being able to use these tools, because costs could be consolidated, could be brought down based on the volume of people that could be using things on the web. When you're just running a server and there's no physical infrastructure necessary to house lots and lots of equipment, but the servers, you have the ability to be able to reduce costs. So the internet allows this sort of compound benefit to us as small business owners to use something like Google to be able to do that. So let me explain a little bit further. What Google Apps is, as I said, are 12 base products. And I'm going to hop into Google Apps shortly into the website so you can sort of see what it is. But just as a background, Google Apps is sort of a Microsoft Office plus a couple of other tools like email and calendar and so on and so forth, sort of like Microsoft Outlook additionally. And then it's a management tool for managing all of the things that you would normally manage from an IT perspective. So information technology perspective is, how do you manage users? How do you add them to your system? How are you capable of terminating them? How do you control file retention and document retention? And who sees admin access to particular things? All of that is functionally a part of Google Apps for Work. And therefore, you don't really have to worry about who has access to what and where and how, because you have the ability to manage that from your computer, from desktop web. You're capable of managing that from an application on your smartphone or on your mobile tablet, and you're good to go. So you literally need no other infrastructure than your ability to log into the admin console for Google Apps for Work to be able to do all of what I'm talking about. And beyond that is because of the ability to do Google Apps sign-in, basically the ability to sign in through Google into other applications. So for example, my company uses Asana, and Asana is a project management tool, which we've talked about in a prior webinar. Well, people in my company log in through Google Apps. So when they log in through Google Apps, if they were, for some reason, were to leave the company by some reason, maybe termination or they move on, well, I just have to go into Google Apps for Work, into the admin console, and either suspend their user or terminate the user. I transfer that user's rights or their documentation, their email, whatever, to another person, and it's seamless. It's done. I don't have to think about it anymore. Literally, the process of managing people and their rights along with it is absolutely seamless. If someone unfortunately passes away, as has happened in my company before, and you have to sort of make that quick judgment call in terms of how to take care of the fact that someone's data, your business data, is sitting on someone else's computer. Well, easy. Go into Google Apps, into the admin console. You change the user rights, terminate all the logins for that person's users across all computers, in the world, and done. That person and that data is now secure for your business. It retracts all of that data, it logs them out, and then it moves that user's information over to another user or no one, and you're secure. So if a phone, a smartphone is lost or stolen, if a laptop gets misplaced, whatever happens, Google gives you the ability to go ahead and reach out there and control your business assets, which is your business data out there, whether it's on the cloud or on a computer, and really take control of it for your business. So really, really powerful product. And what I want to do is I want to take us into this product so we can sort of see what and how it works, okay? So I'm just going to hop on over to Google Apps, and so that you can see what Google Apps can do. So Google Apps for Work, you get to it by going to google.com/A for Apple, or A for apps, and it will take you here to google.com/work/apps/business. I would just recommend you remember google.com/A as an Apple, right? So it'll take you here, and you're going to come to the Get Started button up in the top right-hand corner. Now, Google Apps for Work's website will change over time, but the main point is that there's going to be a button somewhere on the page to allow you to get started. But first, I just want to go over the main products so that you have a pretty good idea about what we're talking about here. So I'm just going to hop on over to the products page so you can see them sort of laid out, and we'll talk about each one of them one by one. So this is the Google website that's loading, and so we're just going to go over these. So starting out at the very top is, of course, Google's email, and so you have the ability to track and manage email. So Google gives you the ability to have your name at yourbusiness.com. So you have the ability to have your own professional level email. From your client communications perspective, they don't see anything different on their side. They just see an email from your business. But on your side, you see that it's a Gmail interface. So if you're comfortable in the Gmail interface, you can go ahead and do that. Big misnomer. One thing that people frequently tell me about the Gmail interface is that they don't like threaded conversations. I love threaded conversations. I love the idea of taking all the subject, responses to and from people around one particular subject, one particular email conversation, and having that threaded, meaning it's all together in one line item, okay? And you can expand them and see it all together. Well, some people don't like that. I get that. Everybody has their own way of own workflow. Well, you can turn that off in the Gmail interface. So just because Gmail does it, out the box that way by default, you can actually turn that threading off. So don't be discouraged just because Gmail has the threading. You can turn it off. Anyway, so you have Gmail interface. You can put your logo up there so that it looks like your company, up in the top left-hand corner, your company logo. You can change the interface to be your brand colors, the whole 9 yards. So you can brand the interface so that it's yours, but in essence, you're running on top of the Google Gmail platform. And the Google Mail platform has stellar security, stellar spam filtering, all of the functions that you'd really want in it. It splices into that, of course, this next icon, which is the Google Hangouts app, which allows you to have voice and video calls, but it also allows you to chat, basically instant message style chat, and then you can seamlessly SMS message if you actually incorporate another tool called Google Voice into the Google Apps for Work account, and all of a sudden you're capable of seamlessly SMS messaging, instant messaging, voice and video calling, directly with your staff and your customers. Really, really cool tools there. Next up is the calendar. You can schedule teams, but you can also schedule resources. So I have a calendar for our conference room. The conference room is scheduled directly into our Google Calendar called Conference Room. Our projectors, our other kinds of assets are all listed as resource calendars, and people basically can schedule time in them. People's schedules for their office hours, those are also as their own Google Calendar. So we know people's schedules based on what they're publishing within their own scheduling calendars. So really useful ways in which to use Google Calendar, and it's all built there right into the Google Apps interface. Next up is Google+, which is Google's version of a social network. And it's also a huge marketing sort of hub for how Google really manages and tracks your business. So really important to use and utilize the Google+ interface for being able to establish your business there on the web. Next up is storage, being able to store things in the cloud. And here, this is sort of the comparable product to Dropbox. If people know what Dropbox is, basically Google Drive is that Dropbox. So a lot of people understand Google Drive as being the document and collaboration tools that you use when you go to drive.google.com. It's actually a misnomer, though, because Google Drive is actually the application you install on your computer, just like Dropbox, and then you have a folder on your computer. You drag a file to it, any file. It could be a zip file. It could be a Word document. It could be anything. You drag it on there, and it synchronizes automatically with Google, and now it saves that document in the cloud, so it has a copy there and a copy on your desktop. That copy on a desktop or wherever you keep the Google Drive folder, you can put it anywhere. And so you have that Google Drive folder, and it seamlessly synchronizes. So if you have 5 computers, you can have Google Drive on all of those computers and synchronize those same files across all of them. You can even choose to have only 4 of those folders in Google Drive synchronized to your desktop. So you can keep the majority of the documents or the files on your cloud storage, up in Google Drive, and only keep the most essential things there on your local computer so that you can, manage how much local storage you're using as opposed to the cloud storage, which is what I do. I keep a minimal number of documents on my traveling laptop, which is the one you're looking at right now on screen, and I don't like to keep a lot of stuff on it. You know what I mean? I like to keep it pretty sparse. And that way, I don't have to worry about it. But if I need anything, I just go to drive.google.com right there in the cloud, download the item that I want to, or go into the settings and tell it, you know what, I'd like this folder for today. And so I can go into that folder, and I can go ahead and pop that out. So Google Drive, fantastic ability to be able to store and share those documents very easily from your desktop computer locally. Next up is the collaboration tools. So this is a set of 4 or 5 tools that Google gives you. And so Google Docs is basically the competitor is Microsoft Word. And so if you use Microsoft Word, Microsoft Docs is pretty much that challenger. The cool part about using Google Docs in the cloud is that I can share with Tracy and with all of you right now on the webinar. I can share a document with all of you right now, and we can all live edit the same document at the same time. And I can say, there'd be 10, 50, 100, 1,000 people at the same time. It doesn't matter. Google Docs has the ability to be able to live collaborate with lots and lots of people all at the same time. We have a chat window in the document, so we can chat aside from the document, and we can then suggest edits, make edits, resolve those edits, all live within the document. So really, really powerful collaboration tool for being able to live collaboratively create documents. And you can export them to Microsoft Office documents, to open Office document formats, and all kinds of other things, PDF and so on and so forth. Really, really cool to be able to do that live in the cloud without any additional infrastructure or local software, just your web browser. Next up is Google Sheets, comparable to Excel. Basically everything I said about Google Docs plus, just converting that all to a Microsoft Excel perspective. So very, very powerful spreadsheet software. Next up is Google Forms. Google Forms is the equivalent to, say, like a Survey Monkey or something like that, in the sense that it allows you to be able to create quick and easy online forms and surveys. Now, the forms and surveys actually populate inside of Google Sheets, a Google Sheets workbook. So you actually have the ability to crunch that data once it comes in on the Google Sheets side, which is very, very powerful, because if you think about the way in which you can sort of crunch data within Excel, sort of the same thing. You get to crunch that data in the Google Sheets side. There's another product that's actually not shown here that comes natively within Google Drive or the Google Documents interface, which is Google Drawing, which is sort of the equivalent to sort of a melange of Microsoft Visio and Microsoft Publisher. So you're capable of creating graphics and some kinds of charts and things of that nature, visual layout items, maybe some marketing collateral if you want to get really, really fancy in Google Drawing. But you can do all of that in a vector graphics format in Google Drawing. Next up is Google Slides, equivalent to, say, Microsoft PowerPoint, right? So you can do that, and so Microsoft PowerPoint is sort of equivalent to Google Slides. You've got that here inside of the Google Drive, Google Documents format. Next up, they show you Google Sites. Google Sites is the ability for you to be able to easily create websites, web pages for your teams, for your public, that kind of thing. So basically, you can create a website publicly for your business really quickly and easily. You can create an intranet or an extranet. The greatest thing that I use it for are sort of HR policies or employee manuals. You just create that document live. You can live edit it. You don't need to know a thing about web coding. And clients love it, because I'm able to just sort of, let's create a policy, let's put it up there, we can live edit it. It automatically updates to when it's last been revised. You can control who can see it. So you have, granular control over literally you can say which pages people can see versus, who can edit it and that kind of thing. You publish it, it's out there, it's live, and you go on with your day. You can embed videos, you can embed a Google group, you can embed documents, you can embed all kinds of things into the Google Sites. It's flexible, it's easy, and it just works, and I really like it for that reason. Now, take it over to the last two pieces of the puzzle, which are Admin and Vault. So Admin and Vault is really cool because Admin, the Admin console, if you log into the Admin console, which I'll be doing shortly, you get the ability to manage all of this. And at the top of the webinar, I talked about the idea that you can go in and just go in and find a user and change that user's rights directly from the Admin console, and that reaches out to all of their devices, their laptops, their computers, whatever computer they might be logged in the world, their smartphone, their tablet, and it changes those rights purposefully on behalf of the business, right? Because you're trying to manage and control your business, and so you're trying to make sure that you have those kinds of claws to reach out there and grab them when situations get tough. In the case of, like I said, you terminate someone, you don't want them to have access to that information anymore. If somebody leaves the company, it gets lost or stolen, a particular device. You want to be able to have that kind of control, that safety net for your business, and Google gives you that. Almost no other company gives you that kind of access and control that Google's been able to provide for you here within the Google Apps interface. So really cool to be able to utilize the tool in that way. And then Vault is a really cool additional tool, which is for basically document retention and basically document security, in the sense that it tells you when a document can be purged, who can have access to those documents in storage, and so on and so forth. So if you have any concerns about e-discovery or anything about archiving the documents and making sure that you're regularly purging things from a document retention perspective, as we've talked about in prior webinars as well, regarding e-policies, you can go and check out that archived webinar. You'll see that Vault is a fantastic tool for being able to manage and track all of those. So those are the basic 12 products that Google provides you as a base for Google Apps for Work. And this is literally just the tip of the iceberg. This is just the basics of what Google provides. And then they give you pretty much every other one of the 500+ Google products that Google has out there available to you to be able to access within Google Apps, plus any tool, anyone out there. Like I said, Asana allows you to be able to log in through Google Apps. If any app lets you log in through the Google sign-in, well, now you have the ability to manage it through Google Apps for Work. So you have the extensibility and the interoperability of all of those applications just by bundling it within Google Apps for Work. So just a couple things. As I said before, you have a 30-day free trial for Google Apps, and then it's $5 per user per month, or it's $50 per year. Okay, so it's very easy pricing. For $50 a year, you get all of this, plus any of the additional tools within the Google Apps ecosystem and platform, all for free, and you're capable of basically using it however you'd like. Okay, so you can piecemeal these things. So you can turn off Drive, for instance. You can turn off all of the functionalities of particular software and only use particular ones. So like for my business, we've turned off a lot of the different services that we don't use because we started off using other services to begin with, so we didn't need them. But we found uses for a lot of things. Like we have a WordPress website, but we use Google Sites extensively for our intranet. So a lot of the people that we are working with us through a Google site, even though it's not, it's not a public-facing website. So you can find different ways to use a lot of these things. So that being the case, I saw a hand raised. Tracy, was there a question? And if not, then I'm going to move on to us actually utilizing and getting started inside of the Google Apps for Work interface.
Ray, go ahead. There isn't a question typed in. So if the person who has a hand raised wants to type in their question in the question window, we'll be happy to answer that.
Fantastic. Thank you, Tracy. So I'm just going to close out this bookmarks bar so that we have a little bit more screen space, and then I'm going to manage to hopefully expand this so you can see the most of the screen. All right, great. So what I've done was I just clicked on the Get Started button on the Google Apps website, so google.com/A. We're on the main page, and this is where it's going to get tricky. Okay, so everybody buckle your seatbelts, and we're going to see whether or not this actually works the way that I hope it will. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to type in my information to get started with this, and no one email me at this email address. This is a dummy email address. Please do not email me at this email address. I will not check it. Okay, so I'm going to just type in some information about myself. I'm going to type in just that I have 2 to 9 employees. I'm going to type in my phone number, and now I'm all set, right? So I'm just completing the information that Google has asked me. I'm going to click on Next, and then it's going to say, hey, this is where we now have to start paying attention, right? The other stuff was just basic stuff, but now it says, are you going to use a domain that you've already purchased, or are you going to buy a new domain? Okay, so in this particular case, I have a domain. I'm going to go ahead and do that. Google gives you the ability to purchase a domain through them, or you can go ahead and find an exterior party, an external party to go ahead and do that. I'd recommend that you probably, if you're here, you might as well just use the Google Domains purchase if you don't have a domain, but you would probably use your business domain if you already have a website or a domain that you're planning on using. I'm going to click on Use a Domain, and I'm going to choose a domain of my business. So in this particular case, we don't use in my company my blog domain, so we're just going to use the blog domain just for giggles. Oh, well, see, there you go. It's not letting me because I have already used it. So let's use another one. Let's think. I was just thinking, what was the other? Oh, I'll use my googleyoursmallbusiness.com domain, another book that I'm working on that, I'm not using it for Google Apps, so I'm going to click on that. It says it doesn't support this domain. You see what I'm saying? You just have to sort of play with it. Let's try my my podcast domain. There we go. All right. So you won't have this problem because it'll be your business URL. But since I'm using this for testing purposes, I'm trying to think through different domains that I had. All right. So I'm now going to choose an email address. I'm just going to use my first initial last name without the hyphen. I'm going to type in a password. And what I'm doing is I'm creating the initial user account for the Google Apps account, right? So it's going to be your name at your business, domain.com or whatever it is, in this case, .net. I'm going to type in the CAPTCHA to make sure that I'm proving that I'm not a robot. And it also can speak those numbers to you and so on and so forth, so you can do that. You can choose to receive emails regarding updates and announcements for Google Apps for Work, and I would recommend that you actually do receive them. This is one of the few email marketing newsletters that's probably pretty important for you to receive, because they will send you important notifications about things that might be, useful to you. They're actually really useful. I find them to be useful. You're going to have to read and agree to the Google Apps for Work agreement. These are the terms of service. Just a couple of basics about the Google Apps for Work. One, your data is your data, so you own it in a Google Apps for Work account. So there's no question about whether or not you own the data that's created within it. You can take that data out at any time, and you can delete your account, period. You own your data. It's your data. You have the ability to be able to do with it what you'd like, okay? You can't break any laws under the Google Apps for Work agreement, and pretty much it's a pay you stay, you don't you go, right? If you don't pay, they're going to kick you out. So this is a pretty easy agreement for people to understand. So we're going to accept and sign up, and Google's now going to go through the process of doing all of that background work. All of the little trolls in the background are working. The elves are working to make your Google Apps account work for you. Once that's done, then you have to start the process of actually setting up, verifying your business domain. I can't really walk you through that because everyone is different. Okay, so if you have a particular domain with, say, GoDaddy, or with another domain registrar like in Network Solutions or something like that, you'll have to walk through their process in order to be able to verify that you actually own that domain. And then once you've done that, you'll be able to verify and set up your email based on that. So I can't show you that here today, but it's pretty simple and easy. You work with your domain registrar in order to be able to do that. All right, so Google Apps says to me, you've set up your business account. Now you can add people to your Google Apps account. I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm just going to go ahead and add my assistant and say, that she's going to be in here. So I'm going to put in Jeannie. Oh, click on Start. Type in a name. And just going to put Jeannie. Why not? Click on Add. And now what's going to happen is I've added this person to our users. You can see I'm already set. I've said I've added all the users that I want to add to this, and you can add as many as you need. In this particular case, you can add up to 10 users, and then if you want to go ahead and add more users beyond that, then you can. Remember that it's $5 per user per month, or $50 per user per year. Okay, so 2 users can be $100 per year, or $10 per month. Okay, and then if all else fails, you can of course then call their 800 number, the 844-390-7627. Just call that number with the PIN. You want to take this number down and just have it available to you on a regular basis. Okay, so use those 2 numbers to be able to verify and call Google Apps whenever you might have a particular problem. Okay, you can also use their help center, and their help center could probably answer about 99% of your questions. So if you're in that 1% where you have a question that doesn't fit what's in the help center, you can give them a call. But I would take down the number and the PIN so that you have it. Don't take down this PIN because it's associated with this domain, and so they will not answer your question. Okay, we're going to go ahead and click on Next, and it's going to ask me to enter an email address in order to send that email. And again, this is a message to myself telling me how to log into it. But this would be to your staff person, so the person who you are adding to the database. They would get this email saying, hey, we've moved to Google Apps. This is how you access it. Log in and change your temporary password to a permanent password and start learning about Google Apps within the Learning Center. Okay, you can add your own message and good to go. So I'm going to click on Send. It sent the email, and now it's going to ask me to go ahead and verify the domain. Of course, I can't verify. Oh, I can verify the domain, but I'm not going to. For purposes of the demo, I'm going to skip this, and I'm going to click on the manual setup. So you would follow the instructions that Google provided in the setup there to verify your domain and then set up your email. I'm not going to do that, so I'm going to go over to the admin console. Once you do that, Google takes you to the admin console by virtue of finishing the setup. Okay? So the first time you end up on the admin console, this is really where you get to actually manage your Google Apps for Work and all of the applications that are within it. Okay? Google walks you through a really cool setup process where you'll be able to set up your users and set up your applications and all of that fun stuff. I'm not going to take you through that. That's pretty, Easy. You can do that yourself, that kind of thing. Now,
Right.
as I said before, you get a 30-day trial. Yep.
I was just going to say, speaking of adding users, we have a question. Are the first 10 users free?
The first 10 users are not free. The first 10 users are within the 30-day free trial. You can use them for 30 days for free, but thereafter, you do need to set up billing in order to go forward. Every user is $5 per user per month or $50 per year, okay? So what they're just saying is that during this free trial, you're capable of setting up those 10 users, but then after that, after the 30 days, you do have to pay for them individually, okay? So in here, before the 30 days are up, you're going to want to go ahead and set up billing. We'll add a credit card and start paying at that point if you intend on using Google Apps for work. And why wouldn't you? It's brilliant, right? It's a no-brainer. So you go ahead and set that up. But it is out the gate, per user, $5 per user per month, or $50 per user per year. Okay? So it's pretty easy, simple billing. They don't ask you for anything else. As I said before, if you do register a domain, that's $8 per domain per year. And beware that if you have like 4 domains and you want to have users under each of them, it then does start to aggregate. So if you have 5 businesses for some reason, if you have a lot of businesses, you don't want to set up all 5 Google Apps users and have all of those users duplicated across all of them. Only set up the users that you absolutely need for the domains that you have. So if you have multiple domains, you can put them into Google Apps for work. It can manage multiple domains, but you just don't necessarily need all of them set up as Google Apps account. You might only need just yourself to manage, or yourself and plus another person, because then that cost starts to aggregate and starts to get pretty voluminous, okay? So just so you have an understanding, once you've gone through the basic setup process, this little area at the top of the screen will go away, and then you'll just see these basic buttons to be able to manage the business in general. I'll go over those in a moment, but just remember that if you click on the More Controls at the bottom, you have some additional items here. So say if you do want to manage your groups a lot, you can go ahead and just drag the groups item there, and now you can see that I've managed to drag groups over to the desktop, and I can rearrange these. So I'm not going to deal with billing all that often, so I'm going to move my billing over to the bottom right-hand corner, or I can even go ahead and just move billing into the dashboard here. I think I can. Normally it works, but either way, the point is that you sort of like make it, jerry-rig it, and you can actually take those things out of view, so you only see the things that you really need to. So if you're really dealing with a lot of device management, you can just put device management right at the top. If you're dealing with security issues a lot, you deal with the security issues. So you can put those at the top to sort of make it a little easier for you in that way. Okay, so I'm going to click on, I'm actually going to put these back where they were just so we can do this a little more cleanly. All right, so this is how it normally would come to you. Billing is out of place, but either way, I'm going to click on the company profile to begin with, because we want to look at how the company is going to be represented across the entire Google Apps ecosystem, and this screen is how it looks. All right, so I've created my company profile from the virtue of setting up the business account, but now it's going to ask me for a couple of other pieces of information. And just very, very quickly, I want to go through some of this. So here you can see that who's the primary contact. So if you have a primary administrator, like an IT person, you would go ahead and add that person to it. You can have a password recovery option. By the way, if you need to set up Google Authenticator, this absolutely works with two-factor authentication. If you don't know what two-factor authentication is, then you probably don't need to worry about it, or you're not worried about it. If you are worried about that from a security perspective, absolutely you can set up Google Authenticator. You have the app on your smartphone or otherwise, and implement Google Authenticator with two-factor authentication across the board, and you can force all of your users to also use it as well. Okay. Here, language, we can choose, and language, if your native language is not English, you can choose one of the 40 options or so that you have in there. You can choose the appropriate time zone. So you can say, okay, we're all in a particular time zone, so we can just limit all of our communications to a particular time zone. Okay. So you can then choose how you want actual features to be released. So Google's consistently updating the Google Apps for Work interface, and so they're adding new features and really cool stuff. You can choose to be on the rapid release, meaning that as soon as the new feature is live, it releases out to you. You can out to your users, and then you can also use the scheduled release, which means that you have about a 1 to 2 week lag time before a new feature actually hits your users. Why would you do that? Maybe you need to do training. Maybe you need to warn them that something's going to change. Sometimes features take away certain things and add certain things in the process to streamline an application. This happens quite frequently in actually Google Calendar. You'll have a new feature added to Google Calendar, but it'll be moved somewhere. And that could fundamentally disrupt workflow if you don't let your people know that that's happening up front and before it happens. So scheduled release is a nice way to be able to inform your users that something's happening before it actually happens. Okay, but I usually recommend using the scheduled release unless you have a very small team and you're all very tech savvy. If you're all not very tech savvy, there's nothing wrong with that, but you want to make sure that you go ahead and use the scheduled release so that you get the notification, you get a little bit of time to sort of figure out what is different about it so that when it does become a reality, you're not blindsided. Okay, always helpful. You have the ability to automatically, in the next section here under new products, you have the ability to automatically add new services that Google provides. So Google says, hey, we want to implement a new product within the Google Apps for Work interface. You can automatically have that immediately available to all of your users, or you can leave it as manual, meaning that it will stay dormant, inactive, until you manually say users can use this application. Okay? At any time, you can actually turn off any application available to users. So you can say, I don't want any users to create blogs, so you can turn off Blogger. I don't want any users to be able to create AdWords accounts, so you can turn off AdWords. And then you can say inverse. Maybe there's some application that's not on right now. You can turn them all on, and I'll show you that in a little while. You can actually also implement Google Analytics. This is really cool because what you can do is you can track across your entire company who's using what. So you can see whether or not people are actually blogging by virtue of how often people actually log into Blogger and actually are interacting with it. So you can actually manage which applications you're actually using and where you're giving resources and doing that resource allocation based on what people are actually doing live with the application. So if you can see people start to dwindle using Google Sites, or dwindle using Google Moderator, or dwindle using Google Voice or something like that, you can say, okay, well, we need to either do more education, or we need to figure out whether or not we should even be supporting that application anymore within the company. Okay, really cool way to do that. And then, of course, you can delete the account. So here within the Google company profile, the Google Apps for Work profile, you can actually do the account deletion. So this is where you would actually revoke access to the entire application suite and cancel subscriptions. I'm sorry, you would have to cancel subscriptions before you go ahead and delete this account, but this is where you would be able to do it. So you cancel the subscription, and then you click delete, and it deletes your account. Beware, it really deletes it. I mean, like really. Okay. So in order to go back at any given time, you could have hit the back button, but just note that if you hit that 3 bars, I'll do it again, see these 3 bars here? That 3 bars will take you back to this little open navigation panel, and if you just click on Home, it takes you back to that home screen, which is your admin console home. All right? So back at the admin console home, you'll be back where you are. So we went over the company profile. We'll go over I'm sorry, we only actually went through one part of the company profile. So I just went through the basic profile. There's communication settings, so you can actually turn on and off the communications from Google regarding performance updates and feature announcements and so on and so forth. You can get all those communications turned on or off. You can personalize the company profile. So in this particular case, you can see that they have the default logo for Google. You can actually just go ahead and click on the custom logo and add your own there. Note that they give you the exact pixel height and width. So you can make it 320 by 120 by 132 and go ahead and upload that logo to it. If your logo for some reason is, say, 75 by 75 pixels, you'll want to actually put it on a background that's maybe transparent or otherwise, but basically you make the canvas, as it's called, and you might have to talk to a graphic designer to do this, but you basically want to make the canvas as big as 320 by 132. Why? Because that's the size that Google uses, and if it doesn't, then it starts to try to expand it and stretch it and all kinds of other stupid things. So go ahead and make it certainly 320 by 132, even if your logo might be 200 by 200. Just go ahead and make sure that it sits on that canvas so that it goes ahead and does that. So this will go ahead and display in all of your products. So it'll show your logo in Google Calendar. It'll show your logo in your Google Mail interface, and so on and so forth, instead of the Google logo, okay? Which is, if you're trying to build internal brand perception for your business, you want to make sure that you go ahead and do that. You also want to check this little box that says, show this logo in all sites that users create. It basically pushes it out to all of the other services as Google creates the user profiles for your Google Apps for Work users. Okay. Here, under custom URLs, you can actually embed and enable custom URLs once you've verified your domain. So that means that if you need to create a subdomain or something else like that, you can actually use custom URLs for purposes of some of the products. So really cool to be able to do. I'm not going to get into the details of the weeds of this. We can talk about that for days and days. But we have legal compliance and a bunch of other other basic information for being able to interact with Google on that. Anyway, like I said before, if you click on those three bars, you're taken over to the navigation pane, go back to home, and you have the ability to go ahead and sort of plunk around in each of the various areas. Now you can see that Google just incorporated this track usage of services called reports, and it does something very similar to the way that Google Analytics set up from the company profile, sort of started to look at how the services are used. I really like the new reports. The new reports allows you to be able to look at them in a little bit different of a flavor. I actually like using both, though. I like tracking where the users are visiting and interacting with the various Google Apps for Work services. And I also like looking at the way in which my staff is actually then utilizing the services, maybe how much data they have in those services, how often they log in, how often they change passwords. All of that stuff is actually just as much useful information to me as is where they might be browsing within those services. Okay, so you get a little bit of a different view. Device management, like I said, someone loses or steals a device, you go into device management, you deactivate it, it automatically locks that device and bricks all your data so that you're secure. Okay? Then you have all the other areas in here. These are all pretty self-explanatory. I do want to take you into apps before we close out because this is a very big tool. So as you can see here, Google Apps gives you sort of the base 8 apps as it calls it, but you have the 12 applications across the top here, and you can see that all of these are statuses off. Now they're status off because I haven't verified my domain. So until I verify the domain, it doesn't know how to really send anything to anywhere, right? Because these are all underneath your own domain. So it'll be calendar.yourbusinessname.com, it'll be contacts.yourbusinessname.com, drive.yourbusinessname.com, and so on and so forth. You can make them whatever you want, but it gives you that ability to it. It gives you the ability to synchronize via all your mobile devices and talk and all that. So these are the base 8 products, right? Within Google Drive is where you'll have the other missing products, which are Google's Google Documents, Google Slides, Google Sheets, Google Forms, and Google Drawing. Okay, so that's where those applications live. All right, so you can turn these services on and off, and then you can go ahead and sort of play around with those. Okay, so you can change how much storage, for instance, Gmail users will have. You can say, oh, well, I only want to give them 5 gigabytes of storage before they have to purge or do whatever they need to do. Okay, we're going to go into the additional services, and here Google gives you some of the services. These are just the top services, right? So they're showing us about 10 or 14 services here, and you can see they have YouTube, so you can create private YouTube videos. So you can actually do an onboarding process for your staff. So you record a series of videos about corporate culture, about your business culture, a little bit of history about the company, why you started the company, and what your vision is for it. Talk to them about how you should be interacting with HR as they're starting with the company. Maybe how to set up their email, how you could do a screencast to record all of that. Put that into YouTube. It's all privately shared only with your staff members if you want it to be. And then when they start, you basically say, okay, every day I'm going to send you one email with one of these videos. I want you to watch it. And over the next 5 days, you'll sort of get a good idea about how to start, get up and running with regard to my company. Or you can say, your first day, you're going to watch all of these videos and then come and ask me questions. And that way people can interact with, engage with you as you onboard them and so on and so forth. You can use them in all kinds of ways, but YouTube has just innumerable numbers of ways. You can record, how to do a particular project. Say something that's a rote task that you want someone to do on a regular basis. Well, record doing it once, and then you can redirect them back to that YouTube video whenever they might have questions on how to do it. And then, the things that might diverge from the template, they can say, hey, you recorded this video. It shows you how to do this, but there's one thing that's different about this, Ray. How do you actually do that? And then I can say, oh, okay, well, when this happens, just take care of that. And you know what? Let's make a note in the YouTube video in the description to explain that variation when it happens. So you can actually you can cut down so much productivity, drain just by recording videos and putting them privately within YouTube. Okay, really cool stuff there. You can see that you can track Google Wallet shopping online, so you can have people purchase through the Google Wallet mechanism, so you can actually control purchasing, accounts payable issues, all through the Google Wallet interface. So you can just add in your company credit card into Google Wallet, issue a Google Wallet credit card, and now you can manage that interface on the front end and reap all of the security benefits of having the Google Wallet number out there and not your company credit card number exposed. You have Google Analytics, Google AdSense if you want to earn and monetize on your website, the Google Chrome Web Store, goes on and on and on. This actually, the Chrome management is actually, if you use the Chrome browser in confluence with Google Apps for Work, you get the ability to manage what's happening within the browser of your staff. So you can incorporate every browser that gets installed gets these extensions. So if there's, you can see up here I have a bunch of extensions that I really like using, like Hootsuite and otherwise. I can force an installation every time a Chrome user that's a Google Apps for Work user opens up their Google Chrome instance and moves over. So see up here it says Raymond. Well, if I logged into Raymond as really me, it would then go ahead and change all of those extensions to the ones that were for my Google Apps for Work account. So it only shows the extensions that I need when I need it. Really, really powerful stuff there. Blogger services, and so on and so forth. At the end of the day, you can click on the plus sign. You can add additional services. There are hundreds, absolutely hundreds of them available to you within both Google Core Services and also what's called the Marketplace. And then I'm going to close out because I want to give you guys a chance to ask any questions. But the Marketplace is a place where if you see or think of a product, there is likely one available to you within Google Apps that you can go ahead and do. So if we go to the Marketplace, let's see, where's the Google Apps Marketplace? They moved it on me. It used to just be Google Apps Marketplace. We're just going to Google it. That's what happens when we need something, right? Google Apps Marketplace. And usually just used to be, oh, it's enterprise/marketplace still. All right, great. So you can see here that on the Google Apps Marketplace, I'm going to go ahead and use this. We'll use mine. It doesn't matter. Bear with me while it loads. And so what you're going to see once it does load is the Google Apps Marketplace. On the left-hand side panel here, you can see the various areas of anywhere where business would need a service, and it's sort of bundled under these various areas. Some of them are broad and sort of nondescript by virtue of their sort of overarching or broad categorization, but they're there. Either way, so you can see accounting and finance. If you have an accounting and finance need, there are dozens of tools within the Google Apps interface. Now, these are not all free. Some of them are, but some of them are not free. So it just depends on what particular apps you're using and what you might need. So like here, if you need a CRM and project management tool, Insightly is the free CRM. You just click on the particular tool that you're looking for. You probably visit the site, see what it does, see how it works. But then at that point, you can see, oh, the free version allows for 2 users. Okay, it's just me and another staff member. Great, it's free. But if I have more than that, then I'll have to go to the paid version, which is $12 per user per month. Okay, so you can sort of figure out all of that and say, oh, okay, well, this actually interacts with Google Calendar. It interacts with contacts, Google Documents, email, so Gmail, and it goes ahead and reads all these parts of my email, and it also needs some user provisioning rights. So it actually sees what what data it accesses, and then all of its features. You can read reviews about that application, so people can say, like here in this particular case, this person says that the product is a good concept, but it's very slow. So, we really don't know whether that's actually them or the app. It may be them actually experiencing the slowness, not the tool. But who knows? But you keep looking around. But so you see the various reviews and see whether or not you like it based on the reviews and so on and so forth. So you get an idea about what you can do. Once you're ready to go ahead and utilize the software, you just click on Install App. What that will do is it'll actually add it to your Google Apps for Work interface, and then you can manage it over there on the Google Apps side. So you're able to go ahead and manage all of the products over there. Now, many times, you'll just go to a site like I do. I go to Asana. I type in my Google Apps for Work. I click on the login through Google. It asks me for my Google Apps sign-in, and it signs in. From that point, I'm logged in through Google Apps, and Google knows to automatically pull it into my Google Apps for Work interface. So just by the virtue of the fact that I signed in through Google Apps, for work, it said, oh, Raymond wants to go ahead and manage that there. I'll pull that in, and he'll manage it from there from now on. So it's pretty smart when it comes to those kinds of things. All right. So again, the various categories you have here are admin tools for various IT issues. You can see MailChimp is over here. You have calendaring and scheduling, customer management, document management, productivity, project management, sales and marketing. There are lots of sales and marketing tools within the Google Apps interface. Obviously, security and compliance, workflow, and then for those are for education, but the EDU is for I think education clients. So if you do any kinds of educational work, even if it's not specifically, even if you're a business, even if you do education, there are some really cool tools in here that allow you to be able to do that, like bibliographies. You know, like I'm an author, so I'm consistently writing things, and within the Google Apps interface, I'm able to create quick and easy citations, footnotes, and bibliographies for different pieces of things that I'm writing for. So it makes it really easy and seamless for me to be able to do that. So this is the Google Apps Marketplace. It's pretty easy. You navigate around, you sort of browse, you add things, you can take them away, and no harm, no foul. Okay? I would pay attention to what data these various services are accessing. They are bound by the Google Apps for Work Terms of Service, which means that they're only allowed to use the data to the effect that Google allows them to, and at the point in which they are told that you're severing your relationship with them or Google Apps, they are to relinquish, purge that data from their database. Okay, so they're allowed to, I think, keep your email address and maybe some basic contact information, but otherwise they're supposed to purge any data they have about you within it. So it's a pretty aggressive policy in order to protect you, and that makes it really easy and seamless for you to be able to make sure that you have your data in there. I didn't want to get too far in the weeds with regard to Google Apps, but that's sort of how you set up the Google Apps for Work account. Make sure that you go ahead and verify the domain, and then you have all these various things in here. One of the really cool tools, just to close out, is migration of email, and it gives you the ability to go ahead and select the particular email account that you have, and it can seamlessly migrate your email from one service into the Gmail interface, and basically you just have all of your email transferred over, and you're good to rock and roll from the Google interface from within your email provided by Google Apps for Work. So with that, I'm gonna actually close out and see if anyone has any additional questions, and then we'll close out the webinar. So I'll turn it over to Tracy, see if anybody has any questions, and we'll see from there.
Thanks, Ray. We do have one. Using the Chrome management, can we add bookmarks to users' Chrome browser?
Oh, that's a very good question. So so you can actually, I don't know what just happened. Let's see. Bear with me a moment. There we go. So within the Google Chrome Manager, you can actually synchronize using Google Bookmarks. I don't believe that you can actually force bookmarks from that, but you can use the new Google Bookmarks, which does allow you to be able to share those bookmarks across things. What I would really do is I would probably create a some kind of HTML page within Google Sites and actually manage it from that level, which is what we've done in the company. And it's really, I think it's just easier because you can actually just control which links people need to regularly use. You could also use a service like Delicious that's outside of Google Apps, but from the Chrome management dashboard, I don't believe that you can auto-install bookmarks. I'm going to look into it, but I don't think that you can. I think that you can only install extensions, and you can manage all the various settings, but the actual bookmarks that are held there, I don't believe that you can. I think you can actually set their home destination, which is a kind of bookmark, which is where when you open up a new tab, where when you click the home button, where does it go to at that point? You can set that, but I don't believe that you can actually you can't actually install bookmarks for them. It would be really cool if you could. I'm going to have to look into that.
Okay. Next question, in the free basic Google functions, is there a CRM tool, or is that only accessible through Marketplace?
So the Google Apps for Work has no free functions in the sense that you have to pay the $5 per user per month or $50 per user per year, and then once you're in Google, There is no CRM built into Google except for Google Contacts. You can use Google Contacts as a CRM in a lot of ways, because Google Contacts has the ability for you to add notes. So if you just literally timestamp, each of the notes, you can see when you last contacted them and then review your contacts on a regular basis. It seems a little bit manual, but within Google Apps the Google Apps Marketplace is where you would find any other CRM. So there's no Google created CRM tool. You would have to use that, or you could use a tool on top of that. None of them are free that I know of, though. I know Yesware is a fantastic Gmail tool within the marketplace that works as a CRM. There's Insightly, there's Contactually. There's a lot of different ones that work within the Google Apps for Work interface, but none of them are built by Google that are free.
Okay. I don't see any additional questions, and we are almost out of time, so I'm going to go ahead and close out the webinar. Thank you all for participating today. Today's webinar was recorded, and it'll be posted on the Virginia SBDC website. Tomorrow you'll be receiving a follow-up email on this webinar, and there'll be an evaluation link in it. Please help us to continue to improve our training by taking the time to complete the evaluation. If you want to fill out the evaluation now, I just posted it in the chat window. See you on April 30th for Building Your Community, Creating Your Own Social Network. Thank you, everyone.